This is the Redmi Note 13 Pro, which currently retails for about 363,500 Naira or $250 for 8 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of internal storage. I've had this for over 2 weeks now, and I'd love to let you know if this is worth spending your money on. And so without taking much of your time, yo guys, let's get started. Out of the box, you get the smartphone itself, a rubber case which has a raised lip to protect the camera, a 67-watt super fast charger, and a connecting cable, obviously USB A to C. I actually do like the design here, which is consistent with the regular Note 13 and more like a continuity from last year. The size of this beauty is packed with all the essentials, like the power and the volume rocker keys to the right, a USB-C port, a microphone, and a speaker that pumps out tunes from the bottom. And yes, there's the beloved headphone jack alongside the top firing speaker, an IR blaster to control your electronics, and this secondary microphone, all to the top of this device. Now to the left side, that's where the SIM card tray sneaks in. I love how this device's side rails are squared off with the rounded corners to this smartphone. And you have this slim form factor that's easy to handle. It's crafted from a plastic frame, giving you this lightweight feel, and it has this premium glass at the back which screams, luxury. When we talk about the colors of the smartphone, there are about 3 variants out there: the midnight black, which I have here, the lavender purple, and the forest green. Now for the tech enthusiasts and everyday users alike, this smartphone comes with a 3.5mm jack port. I talked about that earlier. As far as the SIM here, you get a hybrid SIM tray, meaning you can use either 2 SIMs or just 1 SIM and a micro SD card to expand your memory. And that means the Note 13 Pro has a dual SIM configuration. When it comes to protection, this device has an IP54 for splash and dust protection. For the biometrics, you get an in-display type fingerprint scanner, which is the optical type, and which is quite fast and good for what it is. No longer the power button, which doubles as a fingerprint scanner on the Note 12 from last year. This phone comes packed with not just 1 but 2 speakers. That's right, dual speaker configuration here. And we're not talking about the ordinary sound system. These speakers come with the Dolby Atmos support, and at this price point, the Redmi Note 13 Pro is saying basically, hey, you deserve an epic sound system without breaking the bank. The display on here, just like with other devices on this year's lineup on the Redmi Note 13 series, is a 6.67-inch AMOLED display which refreshes at 120Hz and is protected by Gorilla Glass 5. I love how we see quite a tiny bezel with this one this year, making the front look sleek, although there's a larger chin here than what you get from the bezel side. And for the cherry on top, this device doesn't just look good, it's smart too. The resolution here is Full HD+, and there's support for Dolby Vision and HDR10+ with this device. Stepping out of the sun, no problem, because this smartphone, the Redmi Note 13 Pro, has about 1,300 nits of brightness. Personally, this isn't just a screen, it's a window to the world of vibrant colors, crisp details, and amazing blacks. And let's be honest here, who doesn't love a great display for budget devices? Come on. Alright, let's dive into how the Redmi Note 13 Pro really performs. Processing is a breeze here, especially with the usual day-to-day tasks on mobile smartphones like this one. And that's thanks to the beefed up G99 processor which we have here, and that's the Helio G99 Ultra. Obviously from MediaTek, and this is coupled with 8 gigs of RAM in my situation here and 256 gigs of internal storage, UFS 2.2 type that can be expanded using the SD card slots on this smartphone. There's also a 12 gigs of RAM variant out there. While this processor on here is more than capable and a strong chipset for the price, it is a 4G chip, hence there's no support for 5G on this smartphone. Actually, there's a 5G variant out there, but this is the 4G variant. Now, if you're curious about how the smartphone stacks up against the competition, we got the numbers to prove it and not just talks. Here are Antutu, Geekbench, and 3D Max scores that will give you an idea of where the smartphone stands. And by the way, kindly hit on the like and subscribe button if you like this content so far. Thank you. Gaming is quite good for what it is, and you can play Call of Duty and PUBG at up to 60 FPS. From the game settings on Call of Duty Mobile, you can play up to medium graphics and high frame rates. And also on PUBG, this is a graphics setting on which you can play. You get Android 13 out of the box here, which is on top of MIUI 14, giving you a smooth and intuitive operation with the Note 13 Pro. And now you should expect about 2 to 3 years of OS updates on the smartphone. Now let's talk about the camera. The camera here has a triple camera setup at the rear, which are a 200 megapixel main camera, an 8 megapixel ultra wide for when you want to squeeze in more people into frame, and a 2 megapixel macro sensor with a rounded flash LED. Now the front sensor here is located at the cutout notch on this display, and it is a 16 megapixel shooter. One thing I did notice about the smartphone here is that good lighting is the best friend for this camera. Under the sun or well lit rooms, this camera turns into a magician, pulling out photos that are not just good, but great. The main sensor here shoots at a 12 megapixel mode for the default, but you can opt to shoot in 200 megapixel for more details, and this actually does take up a reasonable amount of more space for the photos, but with a little more detail too. The ultra-wide sensor also gives some decent usable photos as seen here. Now videos can be recorded at a max resolution of 1080p, 60 fps for the front-facing camera, and you can notice the shaky footage here without any form of good stabilization. And when you switch over to the rear cameras for these videos, you also notice that you get capped at 1080p, which is quite disappointing for this caliber of smartphone. So if you ask me, I would say the main sensor photos here are really good with good lighting. You get good contrast and good dynamic range, a good HDR by default, and get colorful photos in general. I really like them, and my only gripe here is the fact that you can't record videos beyond 1080p for the rear cameras. The front-facing camera on here needs a little bit of an upgrade also. Now the batteries here, you get a 5000 mAh battery on the smartphone, as with other devices around this price point and the ones on this lineup. Honestly, at this point, almost every mid-range device comes bundled with this amount of battery capacity, which is now proven to be about the sweet spot and convenient spot for a full day of use on devices like this. You also get a 67-watt charger in the box, and that takes about 50 minutes to charge this device from 0 to 100. So generally, this is a competitively priced smartphone for this price. You get super features such as good rear cameras, amazing battery life, a good performance for its class, a nice design, and not a lot to complain about. Would I recommend this smartphone? Definitely, it has its place in a budget mid-range class. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and check out my comparison video between a Redmi and Samsung device here. Koida day.